Hi, shall we start with the good old team news? Who's available, who's not, who came through?
Yeah, obviously a bit unusual because we've still got a few days before the game. But at this stage, sort of from last week, everyone sort of got through the game okay. Benny Davis, who came off at half time, still got a bit of a sort of ankle problem that he hasn't trained with the team yet. So he's gone to touch and go. Destiny, he's still working his way through it. We haven't ruled him out yet, so like I said, we've still got 3 or 4 days up our sleeve. So it's probably 50-50 at this stage as to whether he'll be available. And everyone else is okay apart from sort of the long-term ones.
After watching your side win in quite a different way on Friday night, you said let the fans dream of what might be ahead and titles. What about you? Have you kind of allowed yourself to look that way? Are you believing that this group of players can go the distance?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not so much a dreamer. I'm very much in the reality of day to day, and what's important to us is, as I say, I thought we coped well with the challenge we had on the other night. But we know that there's another challenge for us Monday night. So looking beyond that doesn't really serve any purpose. Like I said, supporters, by all means, this is their football club, and they've got to enjoy their football club if things are going well, and it provides them with some hopes and dreams and aspirations. But my task is more sort of the mundane day to day.
You said don't look too far ahead, but looking too far ahead, sorry, but Chelsea, Villa, City, Newcastle coming up. How big is this? How defining could the next few weeks be? Your side have come a long way very quickly, and you said there might be bumps, but also you said you're going to enjoy those bumps.
Yeah, it's just part of the challenge. And again, you can sort of list those games, and you can sort of think about them collectively, or you can just concentrate on, the biggest challenge for us, which is Chelsea on Monday night. So all those kind of things take care of themselves if you deal with the kind of, like I said, the day-to-day process. And really important for us, I've emphasised to the players, we just stay in the present. It's for us, what's worked really well so far is that the players come in every day working hard, wanting to improve, and tackled every game, with a real strong mindset of trying to overcome whatever challenge we have. And there would be no one who's thinking beyond Monday night, because that's kind of our most important task right now.
Alex.
Hi, Ange. You've had over a week to prepare for Monday's game. How have you managed that time, and have you given the players some days off?
Yeah, we had a couple of days off, sort of straight after that game, and because obviously we had the short turnaround Monday to Friday, so we had a short turnaround between the games, so it made sense to give the lads a couple of days off. And they realise when you have a couple of days off, you work doubly hard when you're in. So they've had 3 fairly intensive days. So it's been a good week. Opportunity for us to work on a few things, physically, tactically, and I've had a solid block of training, which is good for us. We want to sort of try and compensate for the fact that we don't have a game. Obviously midweek, because we're not in Europe, and obviously the Carabao Cup, and it's really important that we try and keep our players as fit as possible, not just the starters, because obviously with our games midweek, a lot of guys aren't playing a lot, and we're going to need them. So we use that time to try and work as hard as we can in training to compensate for it.
Did you go to the team meal? It looked fun, the team meal?
The reason it was fun was I wasn't there. So.
Arsenal, City and Liverpool could go above Spurs before they play on Monday. I know you've said that you're not looking too far ahead, but how much of a focus is there on the league table right now? Are you looking at it and think, I want to stay up there?
No, like I said, you don't use it as, it's the obvious barometer for how you're going, for sure. And we're in a good position. We obviously want to stay there, but it's not, it's not the driver of, like I said, where we are at the moment as a team, because for us, while we're building, kind of a way of playing, a way of training, a lot of new players being incorporated into where we are as a football club at the moment. Our mindset just needs to be on, like I said, tackling each challenge and really focusing on ourselves right now. Whatever the sort of table shows, it'll show, but the only influence we can have on it is by making sure that every game we tackle it.
Just finally, nobody likes being reunited with their ex, especially when they're with someone that they never liked. But how hopeful are you that the Spurs fan base will take the moral higher ground because they're so in love with you now and not show any hostility or animosity towards Maurizio on Monday?
Jeez, that's a lot to take in, and thankfully those kind of days are well past me. I think your reference is to Maurizio, yeah? All right, so I'll try and get to that. Look, it's undoubted that he had an unbelievable impact on this football club. As all of us, I guess, in our roles, that's our ultimate goal and ambition, is that, whatever kind of doors we go through, that we make an impact, and he's had an undeniable impact on this football club. His time here, I mean, he almost took the club to the ultimate summit of the Champions League, got close to the league. So his work is unquestioned. Everyone I speak to around here, there's still people who worked with him, can't speak highly enough of him as a person, as a manager. So I doubt there'd be anything but respect, for Maurizio from anyone at this football club, supporters or people associated with it. That doesn't mean he's going to get a guard of honour on Monday night because we want to win, and I don't think he would expect that. But his tenure here and his impact here is undeniable, and I think will stand the test of time. That whenever people think of Maurizio and his time here as a Spurs manager, we'll only look upon it with respect and fondness.
Ange, how are you?
I'm just getting over my ex, mate, and thinking about the future. Yeah.
Just kind of following on from that, do you, in a way, see your style of play to be in any way similar to Mauricio's in terms of being attacking, good to watch, entertaining football?
Well, it depends how you define it, mate. I think I've said before, I don't think, we're all sort of, unique in our own way. I don't think, you can just sort of say that, there's very two styles of football mimic one another. Maurizio has his way of his team's playing. I have my ways. We both, I guess, from that point of view, wanted our teams to be sort of progressive and attacking in their approach. But it's I think there's a lot more nuance than just saying because two managers or two football clubs are kind of showing some of the characteristics that means they're alike.
One of the most impressive things from outside of Spurs so far, the signings has been great, but also the players that were here last year who looked like they were underachieving, looked like they weren't enjoying it, looked really down. You've rejuvenated them. How have you done that?
Look, it hasn't been sort of anything specific or predetermined. We've just changed the environment and changed sort of the way we train and the way we do things, and then it's up to the players themselves. It's as much their decision as mine as to whether they embrace that and take it on board. I don't think there'd be any player who wouldn't take responsibility for what happened last year. It wouldn't just fall at the manager's steps, and sort of manager's feet. It's when you have a tough period, everyone. What I found anyway is, the real sort of strong people understand that they're just as culpable as anyone else. And the only way to change that is by, changing, and embracing whatever the new direction is. And, whether there have been existing players and new players, everyone's, all the staff, they've been prepared to do that, which means to me that they've, accepted responsibility for what happened last year. And now, understand that if we're going to have success, if we're going to be the team we wanted to be, they've got to take their own share of that responsibility by, buying into it.
Finally, Heung-min Son seems to be thriving under the captaincy. Two parts. One, was he an obvious captain for you when he came in and Harry was leaving? Did you think, right, he's definitely it? And secondly, do you think that's what's got him back to where he was kind of 2 years ago, that added responsibility and leadership?
Was it the obvious one? For me, it seemed to be the right choice. Some of these things are just about timing and where a group's at and where the individuals are at. And like I've said before, I've got a long history with Sonny, not directly, but I've been well aware of him as a footballer for a very long time because of the part of the world I come from. And I've always really liked the way he's carried himself for his club, for his national team, the way people speak about him. And working with him here, I had no doubt he had all the qualities to be an outstanding leader, whether that was as captain or as part of the leadership group. But I think, particularly with Harry leaving, there was a massive void there, and both on and off the field in terms of presence. And I just thought Sonny was a really, good choice to fill that void. And I knew he would take it in the right way. And he's had great assistance from Guti Romero and Matters and other senior players within the group. And I think, has it helped him with his game? I think it's well chronicled. He had some issues last year physically that sort of hampered him, and I think he feels like he's in a good place. And maybe the extra responsibility is added to that he's really enjoying his football and wants to make an impact.
Ali.
Thank you.
Johan Lang started this week. First off, have you managed to have any discussions with him yet? Obviously a busy man, but have you managed to chat to him? And also, how important is it getting him in and Rob McKenzie coming in as a chief scout in good time for the January window?
Yeah, look, I've caught up with Johan. Nothing too sort of formal. I don't have the attention span for long meetings, mate. So it tends to be just casual chats with people. I think it's the best way to get my sort of point across if I need to say anything. So he's the good thing is he's in the building now, so he's interacting with all the right people. The bit with me is kind of the easy bit. It's about setting up the procedures and the structures to make sure he gets the department working, the way he wants to get the right outcomes. As you said, Rob joining as well will help that. And it is important they come in now. Obviously, the January window, like for every club, is an important one. And my view on kind of that one, the January one, is if you can get your business done early in the window, it's certainly more helpful because you leave it till the end of January, and sometimes what you're trying to gain, you've kind of missed that opportunity by waiting a whole month. But that's sometimes out of your control. So having him in is good, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of discussions between now and then, looking forward to working with him.
Pat Matissar, very impressive again against Crystal Palace. I think he said in the past he's not entirely sure whether he's going to end up being a number 8, a 6 or a 10. Where do you see his future going?
Well, the good thing is he can run and play all three at once, so I'm not going to try and stop him doing that. And, I think with Pape, when you consider his age, just his ability to embrace the challenge of playing in a midfield role, particularly for us, where it's kind of multifunctional in terms of what's needed from him. But he has this great capacity to, I think for him it's a great strength to just run and provide energy in many different areas. And I think having him there helps us a lot because, like I said, he sometimes is a 6, sometimes he's an 8, sometimes he's a 10, sometimes he's a fullback, and he does all that, with ease, which is not easy to do because it does require some real sort of, energy and real strong work ethic. And I think as he gets more experience, he'll refine the areas of his game around. Sometimes his decision making is a little bit rushed, but geez, for where he's at in his career, I think what he's providing for us is enormous at the moment.
Last one from me. Christian Romero got a Player of the Month nomination today. His partnership with Mickey van der Ven, and Spurs fans kind of see it as potentially the next Alderweireld Vertonghen. It's obviously got a lot of kind of strengths to it. Why do you think it's working so well? Why is it their differences? Is that why they complement each other?
No, I just think, again, it's down to the players themselves. Guti, I'm sure, was disappointed with the way his club football went last year, but he also ended up winning a World Cup. And he's look, since I've been in, I just think he's an outstanding defender. He's a real strong personality. He's got a really, winner's mindset in everything he does. And, for us, it's, as I said before, I think there's great growth in our front third, but the way sort of our defensive side of the game's come together, when you consider, Vicario just joined the club, Mickey's just joined the club, Destiny's just come across his first year, and Pedro, it's his second year, but probably first year playing us in that position. I think the one sort of constant and the rock in that has been Romero. He's with the way he's just taken on that responsibility of guiding these other guys around him, so that they look assured, and I think they feel, security having him beside them. I think he's a big part of why we've done so well defensively, and again, there's more to come from him. He wants to improve. He works hard every day, and you need. Like I said, he's a winner, so and I can see that in him with the way he trains, the way he plays, and that helps from a cultural perspective as well.
James, and then finish with Charlie, please.
Hi, Ange. It's just on Chelsea. They've spent £1 billion in 18 months. They've signed a lot of players on very long-term contracts, most of whom came in before the current manager, and now he's got to try and mould that into a team. I just wondered what you made of that as a sort of managerial challenge, that whole picture over the last sort of 18 months.
Yeah, look, I'm reticent to comment on those kind of things, because what I know is that, you don't really know what challenges exist until you're in it. So even here, people can assume what kind of challenges I had coming in, but it's probably not a tenth of kind of what we had to sort of do, or what I felt needed to change to happen. And, whether that's Maurizio or any other manager, I guess, you don't really know what they're having to deal with to get to the end point. But, at the same time, while, others may look at it and say, that's a real difficult one, there'd be managers saying, I wish I had $1 billion to spend and waste, because there's always, what people sometimes see as an advantage is not necessarily the case. What others see as a disadvantage is not always the case. And it's, that's the challenge for all us managers. I really think we're all in our own unique space that no one can really understand, because none of us can really disclose all the information, because that's the way organisations work. So what I have to deal with and what Maurizio has to deal with are probably very, very different. But in essence, what we're trying to do is the same thing: is build a team that hopefully, we believe can bring success. You look at Maurizio's track record, and I've got no doubt that he'll get Chelsea on the right path. I've got no doubt about that. But how he goes about that, he knows better than anyone else.
Do you like $1 billion to spend?
Not necessarily, because I've always said that it's I've never felt it's about just spending money. I think that's been proven time and time again. You look, if you get it all right, then you've got a pretty strong case. But there's always a limit to every team, right? So you can't have 24 world-class players. That will never work. It doesn't work. It's been proven. It's about having a squad that's balanced, guys that are committed to a cause, guys who maybe, aren't going to play every game, but every time they play are going to make a huge impact for you because they buy into what you're trying to build. So, just spending endless money to get the best players is, it's been proven time and time again, is not the answer. What the answer is to get the right chemistry in your team, in your squad, to have 24 players committed to one cause. And I don't think you can do that if you just get the 24 best players in the world. I just don't think that's a headache I definitely don't want.
James, can you pass the mic down towards Charlie, please? Thanks.
Ange. So just another one on Maurizio. I just wondered, when you took the job this summer, how conscious you were of how much he's kind of loomed over the club the last 4 years, and the fact that none of his successors really got fans to kind of forget about him, and it feels like finally you've done that. So I wondered if his name came up in conversations, or something you were aware of.
You hear the question about the exes, mate. You don't worry about that. No, I don't. It's not like I've always gone to every job just I think I've said before, when you do take on a challenge, there's a million opinions that people give you, internally, externally, about what needs to happen, or what it was like, and, how great it was or how bad it was. And I never put too much stock in it. I'll always kind of make up my own mind about sort of what I think an environment needs. So I don't need to sort of... it was what it was with Maurizio, or in recent years with the other managers. And like I said, if you're looking for one thing that was at fault of one person, I never think that's the case. It's always a multitude of factors. And from my perspective, what I wanted to do when I started here was, as I've done everywhere else, was try and create a team in the image of the way I want us to play, and kind of the past. I think if you chain yourself to that, then, as I keep saying, you can't make meaningful change if you kind of go in with those kind of preconceived ideas.
Have you ever given thought about going back to a previous club or the national team, and sort of the pros and cons of doing that?
No. Look, knowing my nature, it's unlikely. God, we're getting something. Once they're X's, mate. So you've messed with my head now. I'm thinking about that all the time. I feel like, whenever I've left, I've kind of, for the most part, I've left on the back of success, and I like to leave that memory sort of as it is. So I just don't think there's any real purpose. I wouldn't see myself going back anywhere where I've been, but who knows.
And just lastly, you talked last week about how the fact that one thing that hadn't quite clicked yet was in the attacking sense. And obviously then Palace, you won the game, but it weren't tons of chance or anything like that. How do you get the team to where they want to be? Is it just repetitions of patterns, or are there other elements that come into it as well? Yeah,
it's a little bit of all of that. It's just, players understanding their roles a little bit more, us becoming a little bit more comfortable with the way we want to play. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think, doesn't matter how sort of... advanced we were in terms of our forward play. I don't think you're ever going to go to Palace and create a lot of chances. I don't think anyone will, because of the way, it's a tight pitch, the way they set up with Roy, they're very disciplined. Even at 1-0, 2-0 down, they didn't want to really expand against us. So it was never going to be that kind of game. What was pleasing for me was both our goals came off the back of stuff that we work on, and that's important, because it didn't didn't require sort of some individual brilliance or us doing something that we're not kind of working on to get our goals. We got our goals by being sort of really disciplined and in our approach. But like I said, I think when I look at at the start we've had, I still think there's so much more upside in our front third play. But all these things, they're all pieces in the puzzle, and they all fall at different times. We'll just continually work on it, and I'm sure it's areas we'll improve in.